Hi, I'm Kevin. Today we're going to be installing a new door into a pre-existing cased opening. The jamb and trim were already in place. Wanted to hang a door in that opening. So I ordered a new door with the hinges cut in and applied into the door. They're not cut in or applied into the jambs. We're going to show you how to do that. First thing we'll do is take the hinge apart. It's two halves hooked together with a hinge pin. Get the hinge pin out, use a nail set and a hammer. The nail set under the hinge pin and drive it up until it pops out of the top. Pull the pin out, separate the two halves. You would do that with all three hinges. I've taken the other two off already. So now we're going to take the hinge, bring it around here to our jamb. Now to know where to install the hinge on the jamb, you have to take a few measurements off the door. The top of the door, we're going to measure from the top of the door to the top of each hinge. So top of the door to the first hinge, have a measurement of 8 3/4 inches. Top of the door to the second hinge, we have a measurement of 38 inches. Top of the door, top of the bottom hinge, 67 3/16. So now we're going to transfer those marks onto our jamb. When you transfer the marks onto the jamb, you have to add 1/8 of an inch to each one of those measurements. That will give you clearance between the top of the door and the head jamb, so the door doesn't rub when it closes. So let's take our first measurement. Was 8 3/4. Now we're going to have to add our 1/8 of an inch to that measurement. The 8 3/4 measurement will give us 8 7/8. So I'll put a mark at 8 7/8. Our next measurement was 38 inches. We'll add an 1/8, 38 1/8. The last measurement was 67 3/16. We'll add an 1/8. That's 67 5/16. That's the top of each one of our hinges to be cut into this jamb. Now we have to measure how deep that hinge is cut into the door on the edge of the door. We have 1 inch and 1/8. From the face of the door, the back side of the hinge is 1 inch and 1/8. When you cut it into the jamb, you want it to be not quite as deep, like 1 inch, 1/16 less. Okay, so you'll be 1 inch and 1/16 is what you're going to cut that in. You want it a little bit less so that it does not rub on the doorstop when it closes, the part that the door hits against. So we're going to mark 1 inch and 1/16 in from the edge of the jamb. I put 2 marks, one close to the top, one close to the bottom of where the hinge is going to be. That'll allow me to line up the hinge to mark the full cutout. Okay, we do that with all three. Now I'm going to take our hinge, our half of hinge that's left, and I'm going to put that on here so that the top of the hinge mark lines up with my little mark on here, and the edge of the hinge here will line up with my other marks that I made here. That's how I'm going to put this on this jamb. Now what I like to do is attach the hinge to the jamb to make my marks. That way it doesn't shift or move. And you have to drill holes to mount the hinge into the jamb anyway. So I'll lay my hinge on my marks, take my drill, and this bit's called a self-centering bit. Self-centering bit has a little tiny drill bit inside of a spring-loaded pilot right here, and that makes sure when you drill the holes in the hinge, it centers them up, so when you run the screws in, it doesn't pull the hinge in a different direction. So I'm going to line these up, top of the hinge mark, and my depth marks, and I'm going to pre-drill all 3 holes in this hinge. Okay, and take the screws that came with my hinges and go right ahead and attach this hinge to this jamb and those holes we just drilled. And I would do that with all 3 of them. And next, take your pencil, really sharp, fine point. Then you'll trace all the way around that hinge. That's going to be the line you have to cut out with your chisels. We'll do that on all 3 of them. Get them all marked. Take your hinge back off. You'll have a nice neat pattern to chisel. Do this with all 3 hinges. And on the next video, I'll show you how to chisel those out properly. Thank you.